Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Please, Venom 2, let there be something of substance. So the trailer for a movie that was supposed to be out like 8 months ago is out. Venom Let There Be Carnage. I have some positive things to say, I have some negative things to say, and I have some speculations. Pretty low key speculations, nothing major, but wow, what a mixed bag. I mean, thank you to my friend Jesse who alerted me to the existence of this trailer before YouTube recommended it to me. So thank you for that. That's why this video is so hasty. Venom, I mean, I did a Venom video before where I was just sort of ranting about the whole brain eating thing, the whole eating people's heads, which of course I'm not a fan of because it's distinctly, patently not Venom. And I went on a whole rant about that. If you want to watch that video to get those thoughts, then go right ahead. But yeah, the trailer's out, and so the things I liked. I do like Tom Hardy for the most part. I think he's a good he's an undeniably good actor. I think he doesn't know how to do voices. I don't think he knows how to just like be a human being. In a lot of these movies, particularly comic book movies, I think everybody remembers the Bane voice. Oh, you think the darkness is your ally? Like that bullshit, and then in this movie as well with the stupid like Brooklyn or Queens accent or whatever it is he's trying to do that he phases in and out of and doesn't really work at all. Um, I mean, I don't disagree with the thesis, but I think he needs to work on that accent before he attempts to carry an hour and a half to 2 hour movie with it, and then a sequel to that movie. But I love the apartment scene. The apartment scene's fun. Um, there's a lot of banging next door. I don't know what that's about. Sorry about that. If you can hear that. Uh, and I don't like too much goofy Venom. Too much goofy Venom is just obnoxious and stupid and completely deflates the threat value that Venom offers to Spider-Man and other adversaries. But a little bit of goofy Venom, a little bit of a goofy personality is fine. It's the same thing with the Joker. You can do a little bit of goofy Joker because that's the character, but you can't overdo it. You can't make them look stupid or silly too much, or it's not a threat anymore. It doesn't feel like a threat when Spider-Man or Batman faces off against those villains. Um, so the apartment scene's good. Some of the dialogue is fun. Carnage, Cletus Cassidy is ridiculous. My neighbor seems to have decided now is the time to make the most noise I have ever heard them make in my entire residency here. Okay, so the Venom trailer. What was I saying? The Venom trailer. So Cletus Cassidy is. I love Woody Harrelson. I love Woody Harrelson, okay? Woody Harrelson is great. Zombieland is one of my favorite films. I love Woody Harrelson. He's fantastic. He's fun. He's charming. But boy, Woody Harrelson is not very good in this trailer. Now, his acting remains to be seen in the film, whether it's any good or not. But if the trailer is any indication, I mean, he is slathering that fucking hot sauce all over the scenery and proceeding to nom upon it with renewed vigor. After the first film. Oh, when I get out of here, there's gonna be carnage. Like that's the whole character. As far as this trailer is concerned, where he's just like ranting nonsense and making weird allusions to things like squashing spiders, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind that at all. Any allusion to Spider-Man at all is fucking a blessing from God at this point. And I'm an atheist, but yeah, he's just like yelling nonsense and pseudo waxing poetry. It's not good. Venom continues to look pretty damn awesome, despite the fact that he has no spider logo on his chest. Certainly, as far as we can see, Carnage looks pretty bad. And I know not everybody is going to agree with me on that, but I think Carnage looks pretty bad. I think that it's the most generic looking Carnage you could possibly have in this universe because he looks like every other symbiote there. It's almost impossible to tell he's even red. He looks like a burgundy or something. He doesn't look like Carnage at all. And he's been shrouded in shadow the whole time, so maybe when he's in the light, he'll be more red. But also, the religious imagery is odd and out of place. It works for Venom. It doesn't really work for Carnage. Because it's Carnage. There's nothing there. But with Venom, at least there is some sort of roots in Catholicism with that character, and so you can have Eddie Brock sort of reflect that that mythology. But with Carnage, it's like, what are you doing with like the Jesus imagery in front of the stained glass? And maybe that's not going to be a thing in the film. Personally, I think they should have gone with a Ultimate Carnage if they wanted Carnage to be more, I don't know, modern in his sensibilities. The thing is, it's a fucking alien symbiote. Like, what are you ashamed of? You're making a movie about alien slime monsters fighting each other and possessing humans. Like, there is no being ashamed of the source material. You are what you are. Stop pretending to be something better. Stop pretending to be above the source material. You're not. You're fucking Sony Pictures, okay? Your biggest films are Jumanji, 007, and Spider-Man. Like, none of those are original properties. You don't have a creative bone in your body, and changing the name from what it should be, which is Maximum Carnage or just Carnage, and calling it Let There Be Carnage, it's like, what are you trying to prove, man? Let there be carnage? The fuck does that mean? Let there be carnage. Venom, let there be carnage. Venom Maximum Carnage, anyone? Venom Absolute Carnage? Venom Carnage? Like, Venom Let There Be Carnage. That's rough, man. It's weak stuff. But yeah, I don't understand what it is with them dulling the colors and making all the symbiotes look exactly the same. You could barely even tell the difference between Riot and Venom when they were fighting in the first picture. It's fucking ridiculous. There's no point in introducing all of these symbiotes and all of these characters if you're not going to, at the very least, make them look distinct. Because let's be honest, there's nothing special about most of these symbiotes, aside from the fact that they're a slightly different color. Riot is a nothing character in the first film. He doesn't want anything really. He just sort of vaguely wants domination. And he's just a slightly more dulled gray Venom. And he can make axes and shit. Oh, he's so hardcore, bro. He can make axes. Well, guess what? So can Carnage. That's a Carnage thing. So now in this film, when Carnage makes axes and stuff, it's not going to be like, oh shit, he makes axes, dude. It's going to be like, yeah, well, I've seen that before. I just sort of assume that symbiotes can do that. That's an innate ability that they have. Because I've seen other symbiotes do it. It's not going to be interesting or unique to that character anymore. So desperate were they to have Riot be interesting that they just gave him things that Carnage does and hoped that the diminishing returns wouldn't set in. But the fact is, if you have Carnage do that, you diminish the value of it if you've had somebody else do it prior. The thing is about Carnage is he's supposed to be like the apotheosis of symbiotes in terms of his threat level. And you can't really have that if you give his attributes to other characters. So what's special about him now? He has slightly more tendrils than anybody else, which is cool looking. Um, I don't know how much good that is though, realistically in a fight, because in the first movie, Venom and Riot at one point were literally just prehensile floppy tentacles and not like people shaped. So there is nothing special about this character. The things that are special about the Carnage character, at least in terms of abilities in the comics, they've taken and already ascribed to different symbiotes. So he has prehensile tentacles, like all over the place. Well, he can grab you, he can flip you around and shit. Oh, he's got weapons that he can make out of his symbiote, little daggers and axes, and he can shoot little pieces of himself. Well, I mean, we already saw that. So what is there really? Oh, he's just going to be vaguely strong. Is that the issue here? Uh, anyway, oh, he's crazy. He's crazy, dude. It's like, what? But that's not enough, though. Being vaguely crazy, um, undiagnosably crazy is not enough. That's not a character. There has to be more. And to be honest, Carnage has never been a particularly interesting character. So if you just have Venom, who's barely an interesting character most of the time, and you have Carnage, who's never been a particularly interesting character, he's just sort of a vaguely awesome threat. That's nothing. That's not a movie. That was the problem with the last movie. Nobody is really a character. Eddie Brock is vaguely noble and an asshole, and Venom is nothing. Venom's a loser, and Riot is not a loser, and those are the characters, and there's nothing beyond that. The problem is these characters were not designed to be stars of movies. You have to almost fundamentally change these characters to make them suitable for movies. They're just not they're not stars. They're supporting characters. They're villains. They're not the hero. And so if you don't have a character like Spider-Man to contrast these characters, to be the focal point, to be the backbone of the story, you really don't have anything at all. And that's the problem, and that's always been the problem with symbiotes, is they're not particularly interesting. They're just sort of awesome. And that doesn't make for a very compelling movie, and I think it's why most people don't particularly like the first Venom movies, because nothing interesting happens to it. If you talk to somebody who saw Venom once when it came out, and they're not like a big comic book fan or anything, I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who remembers the movie particularly well, because there isn't much movie in that movie. It's just jokes and spectacle, and that's about as deep as you go, and that's really sad. So maybe we'll get some Spider-Man in this movie. I don't know. I think it was in development before the most recent deal with Sony and Marvel. So probably not, but maybe if they're homaging and referencing Spider-Man in Morbius, and they've got the Vulture in Morbius, then maybe we'll see some sort of Spider-Man connection in this film. But without it, it's a hollow property. It's nothing. It's barely even the thing it's supposed to be. Because at the end of the day, Venom is in essence, and certainly in origin and thesis, a Spider-Man character. And without that, what do you have? You have Let There Be Carnage. Such a stupid name. So when I was editing the video, I realized I didn't actually go over the speculation I had. I forgot because I just didn't have notes and it was off the cuff. But I wanted to talk about the prison, Ravencroft, or the prison, the medical facility in which Carnage is inducted in this film, seemingly. So Ravencroft is in New York State. The prison that Carnage was in the previous film, which will be here, because I can't remember the name, is a Californian prison, right? It's an actual penitentiary. And so I'm wondering if Carnage will be brought to New York in the film, um, rather than California, or if they're changing the Ravencroft Institute to always have been in California rather than in New York, and they're just going to ignore that geography. But if they put Carnage in Ravencroft in New York, that leaves a big gate open for a Spider-Man cameo. Because obviously Spider-Man lives in New York. If you bring Carnage and Venom over into Spider-Man's territory, into his city, then you open up the door for an appearance from Spider-Man. So that's just a little bit of speculation, a little bit of hopefulness, perhaps. It's probably that Ravencroft is in California, but the fact that they made a point of Ravencroft in moving him to there, it does leave the door open for a Spider-Man cameo, because obviously if they're in New York, then you can do that. So yeah, I hope I hope that was a satisfactory product. I'll talk to you later. Bye.